I'm Boris the Bee Guy, reporting from the back of the kayak. Before the kayak starts moving, I just want to show here that our Forest Beehive apiary is located on the left side of the secluded forest lake. On the right side of the lake, there's a state-owned land, a 3,000-acre wildlife sanctuary. And our Forest Beehive apiary on the left side of the lake is a veritable HoneyBee Sanctuary. Isolated, unpolluted land with no agrochemicals for miles, plenty of natural spring-to-fall foraging resources for the honeybees, so there's no need for us to artificially supplement the bees' diet with sugar or corn syrup, as commonly practiced in conventional beekeeping. You can refer to multiple studies and references why supplemental sugar feeding is bad for the bees. Here's a warning from Malta Beekeepers Association why feeding the bees sugar is bad for both them and you. My own primary reason, however, for not sugar feeding the bees is that I prefer the taste of real honey from real flowers. Speaking of taste, the other week, after a friend of ours tried our Maine wilderness honey, he made my day when he said, and I quote, "I don't know about 40 virgins in heaven, but if they don't have over there honey like this one, I'm not going." Our apiary is in central Maine, Zone 5, and this is how we prepare the beehives for harsh Maine winters. Natural wool-filled pillow on top of the nest is for providing warmth while absorbing moisture. Now to the main topic. You probably saw recently in the news that a new University of Maryland study, published in November 2022, found that in the US, the average lifespan of the honeybee is now 50% shorter than it was in the 70s. For the study, the conventional domesticated honeybees were kept in a controlled lab environment, and their lifespan measurement was started from the brood. It's worthwhile to look into what happened in the US between the 70s and 2022 that would have resulted in such an enormous lifespan reduction in honeybees in just 50 years. So what happened to the bees in the last 50 years? One great invention that was patented in 1970 and then became commercially available in 1974 was Roundup by Monsanto, and shortly thereafter, herbicides joined with traditional pesticides to substantially increase agricultural crop yields. As far as honeybees are concerned, however, here's May 2020 study by University of Arkansas. It suggests that in addition to pesticides, fungicides and herbicides alter normal gene expression and microbiome, which inhibits the ability for the bees to detoxify an insecticide or combat a malady. Since the beginning of the 80s, however, there were two other significant events in the US that greatly affected beekeeping, in 1984 and then in 1987. Kirk Webster, a well-known long-time treatment-free beekeeper in Vermont, remembers that in the 70s and in the beginning of the 80s, most apiaries in the US were treatment-free. They used no chemical treatments at all, neither for the bees nor for the beehives. The widespread chemical treatment of the honeybees started only in mid-80s, first with the arrival of so-called tracheal mite from Europe in 1984, which resulted in colossal losses of bee colonies. In 1987, even more virulent varroa mite came from Asia, and since then, most beekeepers keep treating their bees and beehives with an ever-expanding array of synthetic or organic chemical miticides with substantial negative effects on bees' microbiome and health, and as it now turns out, on bees' lifespan as well. This is a picture from a few years ago, where a conventional beekeeper is spraying a heated fog of organic miticide mineral oil into the entrance of the beehive. And here's the study showing that even using organic essential oils as miticide coats the bees' guts and kills their beneficial gut bacteria. Many conventional beekeepers currently use so-called organic acids like oxalic acid and formic acid to kill mites. When applying organic acids as miticides, the beekeepers I advise to wear gas masks and gloves, as there is a potential for toxicity, despite the fact that these particular acids are of organic origin. In the words of Paracelsus, a 15th century physician who is sometimes referred to as the father of toxicology, toxicity is dose-dependent. It is the dose that makes the poison, and the dose that kills the mites also adversely affects the bee's health. In addition to killing off the bee's beneficial gut bacteria, acids create artificial changes in pH, adversely affecting thousands of beneficial microorganisms living in a healthy beehive. While most U.S. beekeepers since late 80s have been busy treating their domesticated bees with a slew of miticides, feral wild survivor bees have learned a Darwinian way of dealing with mite infestations by natural selection and without any chemical help from the humans. This is a feral honeybee colony that made its home at the shady side of San Lorenzo Canyon, New Mexico, 100 feet up in the air, as far away as possible from various predators as well as from conventional beekeepers with their chemical treatments. It turns out that in a healthy natural beehive, a feral bee colony lives in a delicate symbiotic balance with dozens of different kinds of mites alone, as well as with other insects, centipedes, fungi, bacteria, and viruses. Among approximately 170 known kinds of mites that can inhabit a beehive, only 3 species of mites are known to be pests for the honeybees. Interestingly, among the mites inhabiting the natural beehive, microbiologists have also found 3 types of beneficial mites that eat varroa mite. Here's one such pseudo-scorpion mite eating a varroa mite. In a natural healthy beehive, mites act as well-adjusted parasites that do not kill off their host, the bee colony, but instead live in a symbiotic relationship with the host. If the parasite mites in a natural beehive were bent on killing off their bee hosts, that would have also killed off the mites themselves. For that reason alone, even the current top parasite, varroa mite, would do only minor damage to a healthy bee colony. For bee colonies, the mites that are pests can be compared to wolves that regulate their prey populations by eliminating mostly the weak and the sick prey. Elimination of wolves is unnatural. Where there are wolves, there is more healthy biodiversity, more plants, more birds, more wildlife. Since the mid-80s, when most U.S. beekeepers started interfering with the bees' natural selection by using chemical miticides, here's what happened. The mites kept adapting and kept getting stronger. The domesticated bees started to rely on continuous human intervention and kept getting weaker. Is it possible that our domesticated bees have developed a chemical dependency on human treatments such that it weakens them and shortens their lifespan? Here's a somewhat unorthodox and yet I believe relevant parallel between how chemical dependency reduces the lifespan for us, the humans, as well as for the bees. Humans' dependency on opioids reduces their lifespan. At our Forest Beehive apiary, we practice natural regenerative beekeeping. There are no agrochemicals for miles. The bees are never fed sugar, and the bees and the beehives are never treated with any chemicals or oils or acids. For mite control, we utilize a purely mechanical method referred to as brood cycle interruption. It mimics what naturally happens with the bees during swarming, when for a while no brood is produced for mites to infect. More details at forestbeehive.com. Thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe.